recommended having a blanket for today's class. It's just if you have sensitive knees, because we'll be doing a few moves on the knees. So if that's the case, just have a little fold of a blanket close by, so that if we do have those moments, you can just slide it on under, in and out, okay? Other than that, let's get moving. And today we are going to start lying onto your stomach. And if that's not comfortable, you can always lie on the back body as well. We're gonna do some activation into the glutes, into the core, waking us all up. Just give yourself a moment. Get everything by the mat, and we'll lie down together. When the time is calling to you, just come forwards onto your stomach. I like to give myself a little bit of a pillow with both palms stacked under my forehead. You could even just roll up your blanket, just slide it under there if that seems more comfortable. And we'll start slowly just listening to the breath in the body, feeling it expand into the mat. And then slowly releasing out of the nose or the mouth as the body comes back closer to you. So just trace those inhales and exhales through the body a few more times. Now we're going to keep the upper half of the body as it is, relaxing for the time being. And let's think about the low back. We want it to stay nice and long. So imagine your tailbone going a little bit further back towards the heels as you kind of ground the pelvic bone underneath of you, your pubic bone. So you're kind of tucking the tail under, lengthening the back, the low back, and let's point the toes, waking up the legs. Float your right foot or your right top of the foot off the ground, and then let's lower it back down slowly. We'll do that 4 more times, and you can just lift it up a millimeter or 2, or maybe the whole thigh comes off as well. Just waking up the right leg, the back of the body, back of the leg. And then let that leg rest back down. We'll switch sides. So pointing the left toes, start lifting that foot up, maybe the whole leg off the mat. We'll do it about 5 times total. And go at whatever pace is pleasing to you right now. Now, if you notice any tension happening in the low back, try to really bring your focus again on tucking the tail under, lengthening the back body. And we can let the left leg rest down again. Let's switch back over to the right, point those toes, lifting them up about 5 times off the mat and bringing them back down. Just trying to isolate these movements. Keep everything nice and strong. Let's switch over to the left side again, point those toes, practice lifting it up and lowering back down. All right, we'll let both legs rest, but keep the same sort of engagement in the glutes as the tailbone grounds down. And let's take your hands now, bring them into a cactus shape or sort of a field goal shape, and continue to keep your forehead pressing into the ground so that the back of the neck is nice and long. Let's start squeezing your shoulder blades together and float the forearms off the ground. And now if you'd like to continue as well, you could start peeling this upper chest off the ground into a cobra, but with floating arms. We're just gonna hold here for 2 more breaths. So it might not be the biggest cobra we've ever done, but we're really asking the spine to wake up and use all the muscles to help do the lift. Let's lower the chest and arms back to the ground. And now we'll tense the fingertips, point the elbows up. Press into the finger pads, wave the spine up on the inhale, doing these big cobra flows. And the exhale, roll back down. Now we are using a little bit of the press of the fingers. Really roll through the spine, matching it to the cadence of your breath. And the next time your chest lowers back to the ground, leave it there. Your hands can come a little closer by your sides. Press your hips all the way back to your heels in a child's pose. Make it comfortable for yourself. The knees might want to be together or wide apart. And you could decide if you want to have your arms continue to reach forward, or if you reach them back behind you, just let your shoulders round forwards ahead. Nice and slowly, let's roll ourselves up. So we're sitting onto our shins close to the back of the mat. All right, hello everyone. All right, let's bring your fingertips back behind you. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. And I want you to think about lengthening out the tops of your thighs. So send the knees into the ground as you tuck the tail under. So find that length again, and send your heart up towards the sky. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll walk our hands back forwards, all the way ahead. So you now come into a tabletop. From this tabletop, we're going to melt the chest and chin to the ground, slither onto the belly ahead. Inhale into one baby cobra, and exhale, lower down. Press yourself all the way back into your child's pose, hips to heels. Now let's link that all together a little bit smoother. Walk your hands towards yourself, bring them back behind you. Find a little squeeze between the shoulder blades as you take a breath in. You might even consider lifting the hips slightly off the heels. And let everything melt back down. Walk your hands forward through tabletop. Send your chest and chin to the ground, melt it forwards. Slide forwards onto the belly, point the toes. Inhale to lift the upper chest, baby cobra. And then exhale, press all the way back, child's pose. Good. 2 more times. Inhale, lift up tall, walk your heads behind. Lift the heart space, maybe the hips as well. And start letting it all melt back away. Hands crawl forwards to the table. Chest and chin lower. Slither onto the belly. Inhale, baby cobra. And exhale back to child's pose. Last round. Inhale. Slide on up. Lift the heart space. Extend the hips any amount you like. Good. Start bringing the hips back down. Walk your hands forwards to table. Melt the heart to the ground. Slide forwards onto the belly. Inhale, baby cobra. And exhale, back to child's pose. From this child's pose, let's rise up to tabletop, so hands and knees. Good. All right, let's tuck our toes underneath on our tabletop. And we're going to press firmly into the palm, so much that your shoulder blades spread apart, and hover your knees off the mat. So it's like a hovering tabletop. 2 more breaths. This is called bear pose. And then press your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a moment, just get comfortable here. You can pedal through the feet. Give a little look to left and right, just to loosen up the jaw and the neck. Start getting comfortable in this position. Take a look way forward. Start tiptoeing to meet the hands at the top of the mat. And when you arrive, hang out in a forward fold. The feet can be a little wider than the hips. Hold on to opposite elbows. And a gentle sway from side to side. Let's let go of the hands or of the opposite elbows. Inhale, extend the spine, halfway lifting you. And exhale, we'll float back forward. On your next inhale, get heavy into the heels, rise all the way to stand, reach your arms to the sky. Exhale, hands rest down beside you. Good, we'll move a little bit with breath here, get a little bit more heat in the body. Inhale, stretch your arms overhead. And exhale, start folding forward. Inhale, slide the left toes back behind you into a lunge position. Exhale, lower the knee to the ground. We're going to rise up for one breath. Inhale, arms can stretch overhead. And exhale, bring them back down, framing your front foot. We'll tuck your back toes, lift the knee up. Let's step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, ripple the spine forwards to plank. And in this plank position, you're going to drop your knees, chest and chin to the ground. So similar to how we had just been practicing. Slither forwards onto the belly, point the toes. Inhale, baby cobra. And exhale, we'll meet downward facing dog. Let's hang out here for about 3 more breaths. If you still need a little movement, you can pedal through the feet, shake the head out. Or maybe it's time to start feeling those heels sinking down, getting heavier. On your next inhale, reach the right leg back behind you for a 3-legged dog. Take a look forward and step that foot between the hands. We'll spring forwards with the left foot as well. Step it beside its partner. Inhale, halfway lift the spine. Exhale, float back down. Root through the heels, rise to stand. Inhale. And exhale, back to mountain pose. Other side. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, from the waist, fold forward. Inhale, slide the right toes all the way back. Exhale, melt the knee to the ground. Inhale, stretch the arms to the sky, low lunge. Exhale, bring them back to the earth. Get ready to step back, downward facing dog. Good. From this down dog, inhale, ripple the spine forwards to plank. And exhale, knees, chest and chin lower to the ground. Slide forwards onto the belly, point the toes, inhale into a baby cobra. And exhale, meeting again, downward facing dog. Let the breath settle. Just notice the pace. See if you can iron out any little edges you find. One more breath round here. Using your inhale to stretch the left leg back behind you. And exhale, a big step forwards between the hands. As you inhale, step the right foot forwards as well. Halfway lift the chest. And exhale, fold back forwards over the legs. Press into the feet, rise all the way up on your breath in. And exhale, hands rest down beside you. Good, we'll switch it up a little this time. Inhale, arms reach to the sky. And exhale, from the waist, fold forwards. This time around, inhale, we'll halfway lift the chest. Exhale, bring the palms to the ground and step back to plank. Take a breath in plank. Exhale, lower, either all the way to the belly or maybe you'd like chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, meeting again, downward facing dog. 5 breaths when you arrive. Feel free to let those exhales tumble out of the mouth. Try to get any more tension that's in the body out. One more breath here. Let's let the heels rise up, look way forward, bend into the knees, tiptoe, hop or step to meet the hands. Inhale, lengthen out, halfway lift. Exhale, fold back forward. And inhale, we'll rise all the way up. Exhale, hands down beside you. Good, we'll add on this next round. Inhale, arms reach to the sky. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift the heart. Exhale, touch the ground. Make your way back to plank. Take a breath in where you are. Exhale, lower, chaturanga or to the belly. Inhale for a back bend of your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Adding on from here, inhale, we'll shift the right heel back behind. Big breath in, three-legged dog. Take a look forwards, and you can either step wide of your right hand or in between, whatever is easier to get around. When you get there, make sure your feet are nice and firm, about hip distance apart. We're going to press all the way up to stand, reaching your arms by the ears. Good. Now let's think about our pelvis for a moment. It's probably in a little ski slope at the back. So let's try to lengthen out that tail again. Soften your back knee enough that you can let the tail sink down towards the ground and your bones kind of face forwards a little bit more. Now let's stretch the arms back up by the ears if you were using your hands like me. Clasp the palms together with the right thumb on top. And we're going to flip the palms, press them out away from you. Try to think of the body like a sail. Spread the shoulder blades apart. Dome through the belly slightly. Take 2 more breaths right here. Now we'll reach the spine all the way up and the arms as well. Bend into the elbows and bring the hands behind the head like a little cradle. Bring your elbows in, so you're squishing both sides of the head. And start leaning back into that cradle of the hands. So you just start feeling the chest reaching up towards the sky. Keep the neck supported and nice and long. And we'll be here for 2 more breaths. Take your hands away from where it is, all the way to the ground, framing your front foot, and press on back to downward facing dog. Feel free to stay here for a few breaths or rinse it out with a flow. Inhale, forwards to plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale for your back bend of choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now from this down dog, we're going to bring our knees to the ground. So travel through bear pose until the knees lower. And this might be one of those opportunities you would like to use a blanket. So if that's the case, just slide it on underneath. Have it handy for a couple more moments like this. When you're ready, we're going to sit all the way upright. So you walk your hands towards the knees, so we're sitting tall over our pelvis. Let's bring both hands behind the head into a similar sort of cradle we just had. Get as tall as you can, tone the glutes, let the tail be heavy, and we're going to lean back. Let the whole body move back together and only go as far back as you can hold yourself. Then lift all the way vertical again. Do that 2 more times. Lean back. Lift all the way tall. 1 more. Find that thigh strength, that core strength. And lift all the way back up. Now we're going to take the right leg, reach it out to the side with the toes facing forward. So I'll turn around so you can see me. Your right hand can now touch that leg and lean over to the right. We're really fanning out the left rib cage. Take a couple breaths here and look up towards the ceiling as you do so. Now we'll start lifting the spine tall again. Bring your right hand behind the head. Left hand's going to start reaching towards the ground under the shoulder. Go slow until it finds the way. Now keep your right foot on the ground, toes facing forward, but roll your right shoulder open, finding a hint of a back bend as you look skyward. Wonderful. Now it's a little more difficult, but we're going to do our best to pick ourselves all the way back upright and bring your knee back under your hip. Good. One more little move as we're on our knees here. Take your hands, wrap them back behind you as if they were in your back pocket, and try to point your elbows all the way back as well, so you find the squeeze between the shoulder blades. Find that same sort of tone all the way into the core, into the glutes and thighs. As you press the hips forward and start peeling the chest towards the sky. Now, if you had an eyeball in the back of the neck, make sure it's not blinking shut as you crank the neck all the way back. Keep it in line with the rest of the spine. Slowly, we'll lift the spine tall again outside of our little baby camel pose, and let's walk your hands forwards to table. Toes can tuck under and hips go back up, downward facing dog. If you're using a blanket like I am, I'm just sliding it close by but off my mat. All right, let's do that all again on the other side. Inhale to lift the left leg up. As you step forwards, it could be wide of the hand or all the way in between. When it arrives there, give yourself a nice strong base, widening your stance, and reach the arms up by the ears. High lunge. All right, so we're going to let the tail sink down. Spin your pelvis forwards a little bit more as you soften your back knee. And from here, we're going to clasp the palms with the left thumb on top. Flip the palms, press them out away. So dome through the belly. Find yourself like that sail again. 2 more breaths. Start reaching the palms to the sky, bend the elbows, bring that little cradle behind the head, and squeeze the elbows in. Start leaning back, opening up the heart, opening up the throat. When you find that position, 2 more breaths there. Start releasing the hands. You can bring them to the ground and then press back to downward facing dog. If you'd like a vinyasa to flow or rinse it all out, join me. Inhale forwards to plank and exhale lower. Inhale for your back bend of choice and exhale downward facing dog. So we're going to bring those knees back to the ground. It's up to you if you want to slide that blanket underneath them before you lower, or lower down, bring it in place. We're going to lower back down to table and walk your hands towards yourself. All right, so we're going to set ourselves up again, standing tall onto our knees and knees about hip distance apart. Bring a cradle of hands behind the head. Get as tall as you can, toned into the body as you slowly lean back and pull yourself tall again. So 2 more like that. So 1 straight line, flat as a board from the knees all the way to the top of your head. Good. The next time you're lifting tall, we'll take our left leg, send it all the way out to the side. I'll turn back towards you. All right, so the toes face forward. Left hand can come down, touch that leg, and give a little side bend, opening up the right rib cage this time. Look up at the ceiling. Take 2 more breaths here. As we begin to lift the spine tall, bring the left hand to the head and the right hand gets to reach down under the elbow. Go slow, find the ground. And once you're nice and stacked there, open the shoulder up and take a look towards the ceiling. Now we're going to pull ourselves all the way back up, and your knee can come under you once again. Bring your hands to the low back, point the elbows back behind. We'll do it the same way we just did. So send the tailbone down, pubic bone forward, peel the chest to the sky, and baby camel, opening up the throat, Send your breath all the way down to your belly. 2 more rounds. With control, bring the spine back vertical, and we'll walk your hands ahead to table. Toes can tuck under and hips up and back, downward facing dog. Just slide the blanket off the mat. Take a look forward, let the heels rise up, travel to meet the hands, tiptoe hopper step. Inhale, halfway lift you. Exhale, float back down. Roots for the feet, rise to stand, inhale. And exhale, hands down beside you. Take a moment of pause between these little flows. So you want to bring your hands over heart and belly or just keep them down by your side, nice and present. And we'll get ready for another little flow. So bring your hands back down beside you. Inhale, reach into the sky. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift the spine. Exhale, touch the earth and step back to plank. Breathe in and plank. Exhale, lower, chaturanga or to the belly. Inhale for your back bend of choice. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale to stretch the right leg back behind you. And exhale, step it forwards. It could be between the hands or wide yet again. We're going to pick ourselves up just enough. We're in runner's lunge. So just off the front thigh, your whole spine is in the same line from the back heel, back leg through the crown of your head. Let's find little airplane wings behind you. Little squeeze between the shoulder blades as you're leaning forward. Let's stay in stillness for 2 more breath rounds, just really finding that strength in the front leg. All right, we're going to move with breath now. So inhale, let the arms reach overhead. And exhale, you can lean way forwards again, arms reach back. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, let them rise up. Exhale, runner's lunge. Inhale, arms rise. And exhale, we'll stay in this runner's lunge. Reach the hands back behind you and either reach for opposite hands with the right thumb on top or opposite elbows. We're going to lift the spine all the way back up and then pivot to the left side of the mat. Both toes will face the left side. Okay. Take a big breath in, growing a little bit taller. And then as you exhale, fold forwards over your legs. Now, if the hands aren't happy behind you, you're more than welcome to just bring them down to the ground. Otherwise, just working a little bit of a shoulder opener, using gravity to slowly draw the hands a little closer to the ground. If your hands are still clasped behind you, bring them to the low back and melt them down to the ground. Walk them forwards enough that you can lengthen out the spine all the way out from the hip. Come into some lateral lunges, bending into the left knee. Straighten that leg, then bending into the right. Just go back and forth a few times. Let's find 2 straight legs again. Look towards the right foot, and we're going to walk our way around back into this long lunge. Plant the palms and sweep your right foot back, downward facing dog. An optional flow coming your way. And if you'd like to join me, come forwards to plank as you breathe in. Lower down as you breathe out. Inhale for a back bend of your choice. And exhale, downward facing dog. Just like last time, we're going to lower to the knees, so maybe bring that little blanket below them. Come all the way down into table as you walk your hands towards yourself. Sit all the way upright. All right, I'm going to start facing you right away. So we're going to take our right leg and reach it out to the right, toes face forward. Hands will come back behind the head. Starting the same way, tilting over to the right, fan out the left rib cage. Take a look towards the ceiling. Good, lift the spine tall. Now the left hand comes down towards the ground. Bring it all the way under the shoulder. Roll your shoulder open and look up. Now you can stay here, or I'm going to give you a couple offerings to add on if you would like. The next little step would be to float the right leg in line with the rest of the torso, and then bend the knee, pulling the heel towards your glute. If you'd like to add on from there, you can take that right hand that's on the back of the head and reach it back behind, maybe holding onto the ankle or shin. If you do take hold, you can send your hips and heart forwards a little bit more as you kick back into the hands. Creating a bow-like shape into the body. You could also just be reaching for the ankle. One more breath. Good. Now, if you're holding on still, let go of the foot, bring it back to the ground, and right hand back to the head. Lift your spine all the way vertical again, and we can meet in tabletop. Walk your hands forward. Tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a moment, slide the blanket out of the way, and we'll head on for the other side. Inhale as the left leg rises. Exhale, step it forward. When you're feeling ready, lift your torso up enough that it's in line with your back leg. Find those little airplane wings back behind you in runner's lunge. 2 more breaths holding here. We'll get a little flowy over the next 3 rounds. Inhale, arms stretched by the ears, high lunge. Exhale, back to runners. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bring them back behind. Inhale, lift them up. And exhale, meeting in runner's pose. Keep reaching the hands back behind you. Then maybe see if the hands can clasp the left thumb on top. Whenever you're holding on to whatever you'd like to hold on to, lift the spine back up. I'm going to turn towards the right, pivot both toes into a straddle. Good. Take a big breath in, growing a little taller. And as you breathe out, fold forwards over the legs. So feel free to take the same options as last time. If you like this shoulder stretch, you can keep those hands back behind. And if you'd rather not, just bring those hands to the ground. If your hands are still back behind you, bring them to low back and then melt them down towards the ground as we walk forwards, lengthening out from the hips. Bend into the right knee, then into the left, going back and forth through some lateral lunges again. If you feel like you don't need your hands, you can also reach the arms out like big eagle wings and just use the strength of the legs. Finding 2 straight legs again, look towards the left foot at the top of the mat, wander your way around into a lunge position. And when you're ready, step back, downward facing dog. An optional flow coming your way. Inhale, riding forwards to plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale for a back bend of your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. All right, we're getting ready again to come down to the knees. So just slide that blanket in place if you're using one today and lower them down. Walk your hands towards yourself and we'll lift all the way up. Okay. Take your left leg, bring it out to the side, hands come behind the back or behind the head. Growing taller into the hands and leaning over to the left as you gaze upwards. Good, lift nice and tall, we'll go the other way. Right hand reaches down for the ground. Jock it under the shoulder, and when you're ready, just roll the shoulder open, taking a look up. So this is option A. Option B, float the leg in line with the rest of you. And bend the knee, pulling it towards your glutes. You could stay here, maybe reach the hand back, possibly holding on. If you do take hold, just thrust the heart hips forward, kicking back into your hand. Start unraveling yourself. If you're holding onto the leg, let it go, bring it back to the ground. Left hand comes to the back of the head, and we'll lift ourselves all the way back upright. This time around, we'll add in one more little move. Bring your left knee back underneath of you, and then we'll tuck your toes under in the same sort of knee position we've been in. Let's start the same way, wrapping your hands back behind the back into your back pockets, point the elbows back, send the hips forward, peeling the chest to the sky. Now you can stay right here in our baby camel, or if you'd like to go a little deeper, take one hand at a time, reach back, see if you can find the tops of your heels, and possibly bring the other one back as well. 2 more breaths, all the way into the belly. Now let's use the strength of the legs and glutes to lift the spine back up. And let's walk our hands forward to table and meet in downward facing dog. Hips go up and back. All right, we can leave the blanket on your mat for a moment if you would like, because we're going to use it again soon. Let's inhale to stretch the right leg back behind you, 3-legged dog. And let's step wide of your right hand this time. So towards the right edge of the mat. And when you're ready, lower the knee back. Maybe it's on a blanket again. So we're looking for a really long lunge, called blizzard lunge. So your right knee is still stacked over the ankle, but you might have a bit more of a slant in the back leg. So both my hands are on the inside of my front leg, and I'm trying to think heavy thoughts into the hips. Give yourself some time here. And you might slowly bend the elbows, getting a little bit closer to the ground. We've got about 6 or 7 more breaths in this position. So just let it deepen over time. You might consider bringing the forearms all the way down, or perhaps just a little bit more softness into the elbows. Let's slowly start coming out of the depth that we were in. The hands find the mat again. And then step your left hand wider and a little bit further up from the mat, from where it would be under the shoulder normally. So lean into the left hand. We're going to start opening the chest out to the right. Let the knee fall out to the right as well. So the hand rests on the inside of that leg. So right now I'm onto the blade edge of my front foot and looking towards the right side of the room. I'm giving you another option again. This is option A, to stay here, just focusing on the spinal twist. And option B would be to do a hamstring curl of your back leg. So pull the heel towards your glutes, possibly reaching back for the foot. Now, wherever you are, start spinning yourself back forwards. Both palms come under the shoulders, and slide your right foot out to the side, back behind you, so you're in a slanty tabletop. We'll lower down to the stomach together. Good. From here, let's reach your hands back behind you, back to the hands to the ground. Roll your shoulders together as you point the toes. Start lifting the chest up into locust, and the toes might also reach back. Try to think about that length in the low back, so ground through the pubic bone. Send the tail back towards the heels. One more breath. And use your exhale to lower down. Press your way back into child's pose for 3 breaths. Meet again in downward facing dog. Wake yourself up, come through table, and let the hips come up and back to your downward facing dog. When you arrive, inhale to lift the left leg up, big stretch. We're going to step it wide of the left palm. Start settling the right knee back down, perhaps with a little padding. And try to think about a really long lunge again. Slowly start bringing a little heaviness into the hips, a little heaviness into the arms and chest, lower down just as much as you would like to today. We'll find some softness over the next 6 or 7 breaths. Begin coming back to the palms, lift up. And send your right hand a little further ahead and wide of where it would normally sit. We're going to start opening the chest out to the left, let the knee fall out as you come to the blade edge of the foot, and hand to the inner knee. Good, so option A, just in this kind of spinning out lunge facing the left thigh. And option B, that round where you maybe bring the right heel closer to you and reach back to take a hold. Begin letting this side go. Both palms find the ground. Sweep your left foot back into your slanted tabletop and lower with control to your stomach. Reach your hands back behind you just as we had last time. Begin lifting the chest the same way you would to come into locust and possibly the toes as well. Now you could choose to stay here in this locust or bend both knees, reaching the heels a little closer to the hands. Option B would be just to to reach for the ankles rather than holding on, a nice open chain bow. And option B would be to take hold of those ankles and kick back into the hands. So make sure the glutes and thighs, everything's still working really hard to keep the spine nice and safe and happy, nice and long. One more breath. Let's begin releasing this and press all the way back to child's pose. We'll hang out there a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 6 breath rounds as everything softens forward. Begin lifting up over ourselves and sweep your legs ahead. All right. So since we have blankets today, if you notice that you do have any kind of low back things that happen when you fold forward, you could just bring a little bit of height below the hips, but it's up to you if you would like to do that or not. Just a little tip or trick to try to find that length into the low back. All right, so we're coming into cobbler pose. So knees bent, soles of the feet come to touch. Then just press the fingertips behind to grow a little bit taller out of the pelvis. Take a breath or two, trying to relax the hips. Decide if you'd like to keep lifted today or start reaching that heart space all the way forwards the head, rounding over the legs. Bring your attention back to the breath. Can you make your inhales and exhales a little bit longer? Begin lifting the spine back up and bring your hands all the way back behind you, the fingertips face towards you. Now bring the soles of the feet to the ground as well. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, get really strong into the arms. We're going to press up into an upside down tabletop. So hips rise up, and I'll give you two options again. You can look straight ahead, or very slowly start bringing that neck back to look towards the ceiling. But imagine you have that eye again on the back of the neck. Make sure that eye stays open. If you dropped your head back, start bringing the chin back to chest, and the hips can lower down to the ground. All right, we're going to do one more symmetrical forward fold. I'm going to choose my favorite one, which is our wide-legged Uttam Vista Konasana. Feel free to come into the same one we just did, our cobbler pose, or with two legs straight ahead. It's up to you. So I'm choosing this one where you get to choose any slice of pie you would like today. Create a little V shape with the legs. Bring those fingertips behind to just get a little bit taller out of the hips. And then softening forward. So take your time. Keep thinking about reaching that heart space way ahead of you. And start lifting back up. Bring your hands back behind you just as we had before. And then glue the legs together ahead. All right, so you can come back into bent knees variation, or keep the legs straight ahead, point the toes. And it's either an upside down tabletop or an upside down plank. So lift your hips up, choose which one you like to do, and either look straight down the body or open up the throat again and gaze towards the sky. If you're looking skyward, bring that chin back to chest and let the hips lower back to the ground. Awesome. All right, let's start getting ready to move to the back. So I'm going to keep my blanket nice and close in case I want to use it for Shavasana. Bend in your knees. Reach your arm forwards and either roll on back to your back body or use your hands, walk them back. Good. When you arrive, just deepen the bend of the knees. The feet are underneath. And we're going to cross your right ankle over your left knee. Dorsiflex into the ankle and press your thigh away. Begin floating the leg off, or the left leg off the ground, binding the hands behind the fold of the knee. 4 breaths here. And begin lowering the left foot back down to the ground. Then cross your right knee all the way over your left, like you're sitting in a chair. Find some cactus arms by your side, and we'll drop your knees over to the left. Now you might even consider scooching the hips a little to the right, and perhaps look over the right shoulder as well. If you find the tie of the legs is a little bit too tight, feel free to loosen them up or rearrange them in any way. Let's start lifting the knees back up and untie the legs. Set yourself back up. Good. Okay, so other side, left ankle crosses over the right knee. Flex the toes back and press the thigh away. Float the right foot off the ground and binding somewhere behind the right knee. Three more breaths. Slowly begin letting the foot lower back down and then cross your left knee all the way over. Ground through the upper body again, so give yourself some space, little cactus arms, and let the knees drop to the right. Hips might scooch to the left as you look over the left shoulder. We're here for about 8, maybe 9 breaths total. So really just settle in. Begin lifting the knees back up, untie the legs, and then just recenter the pelvis into the center again. All right. Let's lift both feet off the ground. We're coming into a healthy baby pose where your hands come from the inside of the legs and reach for anywhere between the shins, ankles, or outer feet. Take a hold. Like you're doing a big squat on the ceiling. You can even take your elbows. Just try to widen a little bit into the calves and into the hips there. Feel free to rock back and forth. You could even kick through one heel at a time. This is a great pose I like to do at the end, just to get all the wiggles out your body might be craving. Take your time, be a little playful here, a little curious. And from this position, let's bring the soles of the feet to touch. They create a diamond shape in the legs. And we're going to let the legs go down to the ground just like that. So the blade edges of the feet find the ground first. This is our reclined cobbler pose, or Supta Baddha Konasana in the language of yoga. Let's scrunch up your fists, and you can test out the waters. Just bring them underneath the more meatier part of your thighs, close to the glutes. And you can rest them there as little props. Or if you'd like to just let gravity do the work, opening up the hips over time, you can just take your hands away and bring them to the body. I have one hand over my heart and one over the belly. We're going to be here for a few moments before we head over to Shavasana. Just let the eyes shut. Bring your attention back inwards and feel that breath flowing in and out of the body. Now feel free to stay here in this shape for the rest of our time together. So if you'd like to, you can bring the hands to the outer thighs, assist the legs shut. You can extend your heels all the way forwards for Shavasana. Settle back in whatever shape is calling to you and let it all go. Let your breath deepen. Allowing to slowly lift you back into your space. Inviting small but familiar movements into your hands and feet. Stretching your arms overhead and reaching your toes far away. Take your time. Roll over to one side and come join me in a seat when you're ready. Thank you so much for joining me on the mat today, exploring through some movements and some breath. Thank you for all of that. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Happy Monday. Namaste.